Hey guys, I haven't read books for a while, so today I was thinking of reading books again. It is Hetty Feather. We haven't finished that yet. It's definitely a very thick book, and today we will read chapter 17. I hope you guys still know the plot of the story about Hetty Feather, so let's get started straight away. Chapter 17. The hospital cook scalded her hands badly with boiling water and could not work for weeks. Ida was asked to take over her duties until Cook recovered. She was allowed to choose one of us girls to help her in the kitchen. Ida selected the great 14-year-old girls at first, as expected, but then announced she'd like to give some of the younger girls a chance. "I like to try out Hetty Feather for a day," she said. All the other girls moaned and grumbled and said it wasn't the slightest bit fair. I said nothing at all. I stayed silent when Ida set me to peeling the vegetables, freshly picked from the hospital garden. She told me to have a little nibble of the carrots and pot a few peas for myself, but I didn't bother. I was even shook my head listlessly when she offered me a spoonful of syrup from her ladder. "You're always hungry, Hetty. Aren't you feeling well?" Ida said, putting her hand to my forehead. "I'm all right." "Leave me alone," I said, shrugging her hands away. "Oh, Hetty, please, dear, tell me what's wrong," said Ida. "Nothing," I snapped. "Stop hurting me. If I'd spoken like that to Miss Morley or Matron Bottomley, they'll have slapped me for impertinence." But Ida just looked wounded. Her big blue eyes blinked at me reproachfully. I felt bad because she had always been so very kind to me, but I was very tired of being kind back. I've spent weeks making a fuss of Eliza and listening to her endless prattle about Jem when every word was a torment. I couldn't tell her to shut up and keep out of my way. She was my little sister after all. I knew just how sad and lonely she was feeling, how very bleak the hospital seemed after our cozy cottage. When I first come here, it had meant so much to me that Harriet had made a special pet of me. I felt duty-bound to do the same for Lisa, even though the sound of her squeaky little voice made me wince, and her habit of quoting Jem in each and every sentence drove me to distraction. I had to stop myself hurting her, but I didn't see why I had to take such care with silly old Ida. I wish she wasn't so stupidly sensitive. She had spirit enough with the others. I've seen her put Shayla in her place often enough, and she was wonderfully sharp with nurses, even though forced to toady to Matron Stinking Bottomley. What does she have to care what I said? I sighed at her set shoulders and rounded expression. She was making passery, thumbing her rolling pin with unnecessary pressure. Ida had introduced pies to our diet while Cook recovered, and they were much appreciated by everyone. I idly picked up all the cut of ribbons of passery. I started to fashion them into a big fat dough lady. I turned her into a matron with a silly cap and a grim expression. Ida stopped making her endless huge pies and stared at my creation. She smiled, forgetting she was offended. "That's so good, Hetty." "No, it's not," I said, and I suddenly squashed the figure flat. "Oh, look what you've done. I wanted to bake it to keep her. My, you're in a bad mood today, aren't you?" I shrugged and made patterns in the spilled flour on the kitchen flags with my toe of my boot. "Don't do that. You're just shredding in it," said Ida. She took a deep breath, still unaccountably intent on humoring me. "How about you're taking a turn with the pastry rolling?" "I don't want to." It's a skill to be proud of, making good pastry. I pick up a lot of knowledge working in the kitchen. I could teach you all sorts, Hetty. Maybe you could eventually get a position as a cook general if you learn a few recipes. I don't want to be a cook general, I declared. It's far better than being a kitchen maid or a trainee. I don't want to be any kind of stupid servant, I said, especially in a kitchen. This time I've really gone too far. Ida flushed. She thumbed the pastry with her rolling pin. She looked as if she'd like to give me a good thumbing too. Oh, I'm all too well aware that you look down your nose at servants, said Ida. So pray tell me, Hetty, what exactly are you going to do with your life? I could not answer her. I had clung to the idea of marrying Jem for so long, now that I could see how painfully silly I'd been. What was it again? Said Ida angrily, putting her floury hand to her ear as if I'd spoken. Run away to the circus to join your real mother? It was my turn to flush. I'd forgotten I once told Ida about Madame Adeline. She was another childish dream. I remembered the roar of the crowd as we cantered around the ring, the sound of all those many pairs of hands clapping me. I stuck my head in the air. I might just do that very thing, I said. Oh, Hetty, as if that circus lady could possibly be your mother. She could be. She practically said so, I said fiercely. I didn't really believe it now because I could not bear to let my last dream fade away. You're getting a big girl now, said Ida, shaking her head. She rubbed a floury sprinkle over her cheeks, and her cap was awry, making her look foolish. You're far too old for these silly daydreams. You've got to be practical. Know of your place, work hard, make something for yourself. Like you mean? I said spitefully. You might not think much about a position, Miss High and Mighty, but it suits me perfectly, said Ida. I work hard, and I keep respectable, and I save my wages. Yes, but what for? You do the same thing day after day, week after week, year after year. You must be mad, Ida. You don't have to stay here. You're not a foundling. You could just walk out and get a better job anywhere. I've got a good job here, and I was very lucky to get it too, coming from the workhouse, said Ida. You're talking nonsense, Hetty. I know you must be missing Polly sorely, but there's no need to take it on me. I've tried my best to cheer you up. I shall never be cheerful here. Never, I declared. I simply could not stop myself. Ida was my only true friend left in the hospital, and yet I seemed determined to alienate her. I stayed rude and sulking all day, doing the barest minimum of work. Judging by today, I doubt you can't even be a servant when you leave here. Miss Hetty, head in the air. Ida sniffed. No one in their right mind would ever take you on a skivvy, let alone a cook. Now, are you gonna take to snap Alabama and be a good sweet girl tomorrow? I snapped my fingers and then presented her with my own glum fate. Doesn't look like it, I said. Well, go away and steal, you stupid girl. I'll pick someone else to come and help me. As if I cared, I said, and marched out of the kitchen. I cared dreadfully when Ida picked Shaylee. I knew she did it deliberately to annoy me. I didn't like Shayla any more than I did. She just wanted to pay me back. It was bitterly painful to peep through the kitchen hatch and see Ida and Shayla stirring a vat of rice pudding together, laughing away. When Ida saw me looking, she popped a handful of raisin into Shayla's grinning mouth. She gave a little nod, as if to say, "That will show you, Hetty Feather." It showed me all right. It looked as if I'd lost my last friend at the hospital through my own stupid behavior. I should have gone to Ida privately and apologized, but I was too proud. I stalked around by myself, dutifully keeping an eye on little Eliza, but otherwise taking no notice of anyone. I sat listlessly on the classroom, never bothering to answer a single question now. I felt so dull and slow, I could scarcely lift my pen to write any words. I found my grades slipping. I had been first equal with Polly at everything, but now I was sliding down, almost to the bottom of the class, along with Mad Jenny and Slow Frida and Stuttered Mary, the three sad girls who could barely read and write. I tried even less with my household task. Every Sunday, I daydreamed in chapel and ate my dinner stoning-faced, staring down all the chattering ladies and gentlemen. There seemed to be no point in smiling. They would never pick me to be their new little adopted daughter. I was Ma, soured, red-haired Hetty Feather. I could not even get interested when everyone started talking about the Queen's Golden Jubilee in June. Well, they would never pick me. What did I care for our flat little Mornage? Miss Morley's lesson became very focused on the royal personage. At long last, she used the colored maps on the classroom wall, showing us all the different lands on the Queen rolled over. When she told us the Queen was also Empress of India, half the class assumed she lived in that huge hot subcontinent. Miss Morley laughed at such ignorance. She said the Queen mostly lived here in London, at Buckingham Palace, and she would quite definitely to be in London on 23rd June, the day of the Golden Jubilee. Miss Morley seemed utterly obsessed with Queen Victoria. She gave us a dictation about our loyal sovereign. She told us the history of her 50-year reign. She even had us calculating how many seconds would tick by during the royal procession, as it started at 11 and ended by 2. I assume this was a specific obsession peculiar to Miss Morley, but it seemed to be shared by all the other staff. Even little Eliza started babbling on our great Queen, and showed me a picture that she'd drawn in the infant class. I admired it warily, though the Queen herself looked very like a flat stag beetle, with a crown upon its head. We even prayed for Queen Victoria, which seemed to be a little bizarre, watched us all foundlings, born in shame and destined to live our lives as servants. Why should we even do that? Oops, I just broke something, but never mind. Let's continue reading. So yeah, why should we even do that? Pray for such a fabulously rich and fortunate old woman who owned whole continents. She would surely be on her padded knees, praying for God's mercy for us. At the end of the service, Matron Bottomley marched to the front of the chapel. That was a great ooh for excitement and astonishment, though perhaps we were more thrilled at the sound of the splendid meal and the fun and gave them the prospect of seeing the Queen. We were very, very glad that at last we were able to see the Queen herself. Right, let us all step out and look lively. Remember, the entire reputation of the Foundling Hospital rests on you. Matron Bottomley bowed. It felt up at a quick march. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. It felt so extraordinary to go out of those iron gates and walk down the road. Finally, it's the time for us to step out and see the Queen for herself. But the London Club looked wondrous to us in a thick fog, but the sparkling sunny June morning made every great way building gleam. Every window ledge was decked with bunting, every lamppost ablush with bouquet, every flag flapping in a light breeze. We were told not to break step or loiter even for a second. And finally, the day to see the Queen herself. We were all very excited. It was a long, long walk, and the little ones in front started dragging their feet and limping in their hard boots. But our spirits picked up as we passed the great marble arch and entered the park. There were 10 enormous marquees and many other smaller tents as far as you could see. There were merry-go-rounds and hatter-scatters and whirling chairs and swing boats. Children ran around freely everywhere, clambering on the painted horses, sliding down to the hatter-scatter, squealing with fearful joy in the chairs and boats high above our heads. There were thousands and thousands of our children, from tiny tots in pinafore to great girls and boys much taller than me. They were all wearing such wonderful clothes. Many of the girls were dressed in white or soft flowery colors, bluebell, primrose, lilac, or pale rose pink, skipping around in soft shoes. The boys were jolly blue and white sailor suits with jaunty straw hats. They stared at all of us in our ugly brown frocks and breeches, our silly caps and aprons, our red robin waistcoats and cumbersome jackets, our stiff stout boots. Some openly pointed and commented, "Look, look, it's the children from the institution. Are they all orphans from the workhouse? No, no, they're foundlings from the hospital. Don't they look quaint?" We stared back, still in our marching rows, red in the face from the heat and our humiliation. But then Matron Bottomley addressed us through a megaphone. "This is a message for the senior school. You are allowed to play in the fairground for an hour, so long as you stay within enclosed proximity. All the rides are free, but everyone must report back to Marquee number 10 at 1 o'clock sharp for our festive luncheon. Do you all understand?" We gazed at her, barely able to take it in. Did she really mean we were free to roam as we wished? A few of the big boys make a dash for it before she could change her mind, but a lot of us wavered uncertainly. We were used to having every minute accounted for. We did not know how to cope with an hour of freedom. Well, I could cope. I ran to the merry-go-round, circling it twice to select the finest horse. They all had names painted on their arched necks. I looked in vain for a Hetty, but I did find a Polly. It's a black horse. I didn't find a Polly, a black and white stag with a red saddle. I had to lift my skirts in an unlikely fashion to clamber onto her, but I didn't care. Some of the girls' riders were sitting demurely silly saddle. But that looked so silly and lopsided. I had ridden bareback with Madame Adeline. I knew what I was doing. "Can I take Eliza on the merry-go-round, Nurse Winterson? I promise I'll look after her." "Yes, of course you can, Hetty," she said. She looked longingly at it. For 2 pence I've had a ride myself. I lifted Eliza onto a black horse, for a white patch on his face. He was called Star. "You shall be Little Star Eliza," I told her. I thought she would be in Tennessee, but she shrieked when the merry-go-round started go faster. "Oh, don't like it, don't like it. Let me up, Hetty. You can get up, silly. You're only just got on. Don't be scared, Eliza. It's lovely." "No, it's not," Eliza said. "Oh, Polly, if you were here," I whispered. I knuckled my eyes because they were unaccountably wet, and then opened them wide, because right in the front of me was a tall, dark boy in foundling uniform, nodding at me shyly. "Gideon," I said, "I came looking for you." I was overwhelmed that he had taken the trouble to seek me out. In the past, I've always been the one to run after him. "How are you, Gideon?" "I suppose I'm very well," he said solemnly. He spoke perfectly clear and currently, but with a hesitant, mannered air as he rarely opened his mouth. "Then, shall we run away? Do you think we should run away? I dream about it sometimes." "Then let us run away together, Gideon, and escape our fate. You still dreaming, Hetty. Don't tell me you're still planning to run away home to live with Jem so that he can take care of you. No, I said shortly. Not now. I will make my own way. I will not run away with Jem. Well, that is good, he said, clearly humoring. Oh, my lord. Gideon groaned and shut his eyes as the whole park heaved this way that beneath us. But I stared out, seeing right over the huge marquees and the smiling throng of the children, way over to the south of the park, beside the silver stream of the supper tent. I saw another big strip tent, a cluster of wagons, and a gray creature. Oh my lord, it's Elijah. It's a circus. Oh, Gideon, stop pulling. We must slow down. And that's it. That's the end. And now Hetty and Gideon was planning to run away too. Shall they run away? We will know in the next chapter. Bye.